Okay, so today we're going deep on something that I think is really close to a lot of our listeners' hearts.
Yeah.
It's Army Emergency Relief, or AER. And what we have from our listeners is some really cool stuff from AER's own website.
Okay.
And then also a message from CSM Terrina D over at Fort Huachuca.
Gotcha.
And so what we're going to be looking at is really trying to figure out exactly what it is that AER does.
Right.
And why it's so important to the Army community as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And AER has really been around forever, it seems like. 1942
Wow.
is when they started. So really since World War II, they've
Yeah.
been the official nonprofit for the Army.
Right. And so, I mean, that mission is to provide, grants and interest-free loans and even scholarships to soldiers and families
Yeah, sure.
who are going through a little bit of a rough patch financially. So let's get into how they actually help soldiers, boots on the ground.
Yeah.
What are the main ways they help?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's those grants and interest-free loans. They are really there to be a safety net for just about anything. You could think of, anything from emergency travel all the way to essential home repairs.
Right.
And something that is kind of a big change is that, applying for this help has gotten a lot more direct.
Okay.
You apply through their website now.
Okay.
So you don't have to go through the Red Cross or any of the other aid societies or anything like that.
So it's kind of cutting out the middleman
Exactly.
and getting soldiers the aid quicker.
That's the idea.
Now, I know we mentioned scholarships, and I'm really interested in that because how does that fit into their mission?
Well, it's interesting because, they're not just focused on the immediate crisis.
Right.
They're really thinking long-term about the well-being of families.
Right.
And so, helping family members further their education is going to pay dividends down the line for the entire Army community.
Yeah, it's taking a more holistic approach instead of just, putting a Band-Aid on a wound.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, something else that I thought was really interesting on the AER website was something called the Financial Frontline Initiative.
Okay.
And this really seems to be a really smart way to, proactively make sure that soldiers are in good shape financially.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because they're focusing this on soldiers who have already taken out loans through AER.
Oh, okay.
And so what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to help you out with this loan, but we also want to give you the tools to succeed in the future.
So what does a soldier actually have to do to kind of get into this program and start earning that credit?
Well, there are a few things they have to do within 90 days of getting the loan. They have to go through these financial training videos on the Army G9 website.
Okay.
And then they've got to pass a test on the AER loan portal.
Gotcha.
But they get 3 tries to get an 80 or above on the test.
Okay, so it's not just like watching a video and falling asleep. You have to actually pay attention and know the material.
Yeah, you got to know what you're talking about.
So what is the actual benefit to the soldier?
All right, so depending on their rank, they can get some money knocked off of their loan balance.
Okay.
So if you're a specialist corporal or below that, you're looking at up to $500.
Wow, okay.
And if you're a sergeant or above, it's up to $250.
Still nothing to sneeze at.
No, absolutely not. And the important thing to remember, though, is that you can't get more knocked off than what you actually owe.
Right. That makes sense.
So it's not like a, free money thing, but it's really about giving you the tools.
Yeah, it's an incentive to better your financial situation
Absolutely.
and learn about it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a really smart program.
Now, both the AER website and CSM Anderson's message really focus on the annual AER campaign.
Yes.
So what is the purpose of that?
Well, I think there are 2 main goals, right? One is to educate soldiers about what AER does, because you might not know what they do until you're in the situation where you need them.
Right, exactly. You don't really think about it until you need it.
And then also it's to encourage soldiers to give back and donate to their fellow soldiers.
Okay, so what is this year's theme?
So this year it's honoring the past, securing the future.
Okay, I like that. And that plays into, this is a pretty big year for the Army.
Yeah, this is the Army's 250th anniversary.
250 years, wow.
Yeah, so I think the theme is really appropriate for this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Honoring the past 250 years.
Yeah.
But also looking forward to the future of the Army.
And CSM Anderson laid out some goals for Team Huachuca.
She did?
for this year's annual campaign.
Yeah, so she wants them to hit a 25% participation rate for active duty.
Okay.
And then to raise a total of $100,000.
So that's pretty ambitious.
It is ambitious, yeah. And so as of March, they had about $8,186
Okay.
with a participation rate of only 1.1%.
So still a ways to go.
Yeah, they got a long way to go to hit those goals, but, every little bit helps.
Absolutely. And if someone's listening and they want to donate, what are some ways they can do that?
Well, the easiest is probably just to go to their website, www.armyemergencyrelief.org.
Okay. Easy enough to remember.
Yeah, and then you can also talk to your unit rep. They're usually the ones that organize, the giving within the unit.
Right.
And then if you're at Fort Huachuca, you can also go to the Soldier and Family Readiness Center.
Okay, perfect. And this is really a system of soldiers helping soldiers.
It is.
The website makes it very clear that AER is funded mostly through the Army community itself.
Yeah, it's really incredible. I think that so many soldiers are willing to give back and help each other out.
It really speaks to that sense of community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And CSM Anderson, in her message, makes it very clear that every donation, no matter how small, really adds up.
Yeah, that's a really important point because, sometimes people think, oh, well, what's $5 going to do?
Right.
But when everybody gives $5, it really makes a difference.
And it's also worth mentioning that AER is a tax-exempt nonprofit organization.
Right.
So any donations are also tax deductible.
Right. That's a good point. A lot of people don't realize that.
So, as we kind of wrap this up, it's really amazing to see that AER has such a broad impact. It's not just giving out loans and grants. It's really about setting soldiers up for success, in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely.
With initiatives like that Financial Frontline and, helping with scholarships and all that.
Yeah, it's a really well-rounded approach to taking care of soldiers.
And the annual campaign is really vital for them to continue all this great work.
Yeah, they can't do it without the donations from the Army community.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing that this organization has been around since World War II.
Yeah, 1942, that's a long time.
Yeah. And it shows, how dedicated the Army is to taking care of its own. So this is something I want you to think about, as we sign off here.
Okay.
The fact that the Army has this organization
Yeah.
that's really meant to support soldiers in times of need. What does that say about the bonds between soldiers and the culture of the Army in general?
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's really more than just financial aid. It's a statement about what the Army stands for.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So until next time, this has been The Deep Dive.
Thanks for listening.